Morning world, it's Wednesday the 30th of December 2020 and it's about 9:30 in the morning UK time. And this is my forecast for January 2021. Now before I start, I want to make something clear. January 2021 is not going to be representative of the rest of the year. There's pretty clear astrological evidence that once we're into the end of January, most of the difficult times of 2021 for most people will be over. February will be seen as a time of recovery, and by mid-March we seem to be in a very, very different energy pattern to that of 2020 or the very start of 2021. But it does seem that the first part of 2021 is a real shitstorm. So I'm going to give you the forecast for January, but I do want to get it across to you that January is unrepresentative of the rest of the year. But because January is going to be a stinker, and there's certain times in January which are going to be very difficult indeed. Bearing in mind that as I record this at the very end of December, the world, or at least the majority of the world, is in the grip of massive COVID lockdown with various variants kicking off all over the place. I note with interest that the very hot countries, Africa, Middle East, seem to not be getting, well, maybe not the Middle East, certainly much of Africa doesn't seem to be getting anywhere near as much COVID as the rest of the world. I still believe that sunshine, vitamin D is a major factor in the way we deal with COVID. However, the astrology of January. We start off January relatively okay, as in it's going to be a continuation of what we're all going through now. But as we get into the middle of January, we come under the most intense period of astrological pressure of 2021. It's a time of urgency, immediacy, and probably an element of crisis and trauma. And this will be the second week of January. Now, there's a number of different factors here. There's 6 or 7 different things all happening at the same time from an astrological perspective. Mercury in the sky will have moved into early Aquarius in the second week of January, and it will be conjuncting Jupiter and Saturn. At the same time as Mars has moved into Taurus, and Mars will be squaring Jupiter and Saturn. So we're going to have Mercury conjunct Jupiter conjunct Saturn, all squaring Mars, over the period of the 9th to the 13th of January. Now, I can only express this in advance as being headless chicken time. Mercury is going to create a media storm of hype and spin with its conjunction to Jupiter, focusing on the more negative sides because it's conjuncting Saturn as well. And with all of them square Mars, there's going to be a kind of superficial urgency, immediacy, and there's going to be a lot of emphasis on, oh my God, it's crisis and trauma, we're all cracking up, we're all breaking down, the whole world's going to the dogs. And then at the end of this period we get to the 13th of January, when we have the new moon conjunct Pluto. This is obviously connected with what's going on the week before this. It's to do with COVID, it's to do with the race, if you like, against the accelerating numbers of people getting sick versus the need to immunize, vaccinate, if you're going down that route. It's also very strongly connected with the horoscope of the US of A. and the fact that there will be the inauguration of President Biden. Whether that or how that happens and the situations around that will be quite provocative, I imagine, at that time. This is accompanied on the 14th of January by Uranus standing still and starting to move forward. And immediately after that, Jupiter in the sky will square Uranus around the 17th of January. And this is going to bring an over-expansive clash between Uranus's need for reform and change in old structures and systems versus Jupiter's desire to make a storm out of a teacup in Aquarius. It's going to be the clash of the desire for something new versus the old, trusted, tired ways. And then it just gets a little bit more difficult because immediately after this, Mars in the sky will move into the second quarter of Taurus, and it will conjunct Uranus and square Jupiter on the 20th and 23rd. Mars will conjunct Uranus on the 20th, which I believe is the inauguration date. So there's going to be some unexpected and unpredictable circumstances around that time. I know that American politics at this time is truly dichotomized. It's split down the middle, and there's a lot of radical opinions and thoughts on all sides. From an outsider's point of view, the one comforting perspective is that it seems that the military, the FBI, the National Guard, the forces of law and order, not so much the presidency, or nothing to do with the politics, but the actual law and enforcement people seem to be staying firmly in the middle and not taking sides, and hopefully will keep a relative degree of sanity around this time. Nevertheless, the time of the inauguration is very challenged astrologically, with Mars conjunct Uranus and squaring Jupiter at that time. So there's going to be over-the-top situations. There will be the need for a lot of security. This concludes as we get into the end of January with the full moon, which will take place at around 9 degrees of Leo, and it will be pretty much exactly opposite Jupiter. Now, when I've compiled a list of all of the difficult aspects of 2021, over 1/3 of all the difficult aspects in 2021 occurred during January. So as we hit the end of January, inevitably, almost astrologically speaking, Mercury will go retrograde. Now, I'm not unhappy about this, because that Mercury retrograde, which will run from the 30th of January through to about the 21st of February, 3-week period, will kind of force us into a period of retrospect and reassessment, reevaluation. And stepping back a bit and looking at the COVID situation, I do draw your attention astrologically to the new moon around the end of the second week of March, when the Sun and the Moon and Venus will all be conjunct with each other, conjuncting Neptune at the moment of new moon. So I would hope that by the time we're into the second week of March, we're going to be drawing a close to the effects of the virus at a major level. Either that or it's going to get 10 times worse, but I prefer to view the positive side of this. But that's March, and we'll come back to that another time. Meantime, let's get through January, because it's pretty clear to me that the second week of January is going to be very messy indeed, with a lot of mis and disinformation, a lot of hype and spin, and possibly a lot of panic, probably generated by media, both mainstream and social. So, my message to you all is clear. Reiterating what I've already said a few times already, that January is not representative of 2021. The second week of January is going to be full of hype and spin. Do not buy into it. Do what's sensible. Stay safe. Don't go out partying or clubbing. Listen to your own rules. Play safe, folks, because if things are going to screw up in 2021, it's going to be the second week of January. The following week, leading up to the American inauguration, is also fraught. But as I say, this is a concentrated microcosm of intense energies that has the potential for a lot of things to go wrong, but also it's either breakdown or breakthrough. I, for one, will be absolutely delighted by the time we get through to, say, the 21st, 22nd of January. I think the world will start to be seen to be being a different place by that time. By the end of January, we're going to start being able to throw fishing lines into the future with a degree of confidence. And we will have clear results by mid-late February of how the world's shaping up to be. But let's get through January first. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but hey, I'm not going to make it easy for you. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. If it's difficult, I'm going to tell you. But the positive side of this is that by the end of January, the hardest time of the year is over. So hang in there, be sensible. Right, I'm off to do the yearly videos for each of the signs of the zodiac now. Catch you later, world. Bye.